Have you ever walked away from an argument and felt like you won, and not because you were right, but because you chose peace? Or have you ever wondered what might happen if, instead of defending yourself, you simply stood firm in silence? And here's the real question. Could your life get easier not through fighting harder, but by no longer fighting at all? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're exploring a profound spiritual truth that goes against almost everything we're taught in modern life. In a world obsessed with winning, asserting, and proving ourselves, there's a quiet path that leads not to defeat, but to clarity, freedom, and power. It's the path of non-resistance. Not avoidance. Not weakness. But the deep inner strength of choosing not to engage in battles that don't deserve your energy. In this video, you'll learn the truth about what really happens when you stop shouting, stop defending, and stop reacting. You'll meet people who learned through pain and persistence that when you don't argue, don't fight, and don't try to control, the world has a mysterious way of making space for you. And you'll see that non-resistance is not passive, it is power in its highest form. Well, let's begin. To understand the transformational force of not arguing, not debating, and not resisting every conflict that comes your way, let's begin with a true story. There was a woman named Claire, a senior manager in a well-known company. She was intelligent, assertive, and known for being excellent at debates. He never lost an argument. He defended her ideas passionately, and no one could accuse her of backing down. But over the years, Claire found herself increasingly isolated. Her team admired her competence, but feared her sharp tongue. Her peers respected her opinions, but rarely sought her collaboration. And at home, her marriage began to fracture under the weight of constant verbal battles. One day, after a particularly intense boardroom dispute, Claire found herself sitting alone in her office, exhausted, not from the work, but from the tension. At night, she did something she hadn't done in years. She sat quietly, turned off her phone, and asked herself a simple question. What have I gained from being right all the time? The answer hit hard. Very little. Respect, yes. Peace, no. Connection, none. Joy, almost forgotten. At night was the beginning of a new life for Claire, not one where she stopped speaking her truth, but where she stopped using resistance as her default setting. You learned something most people take decades to understand. The world doesn't truly change when you win an argument. It changes when you master yourself. Well, let's examine why we argue in the first place. Most of us were raised to believe that being right gives us control, respect, or protection. We argue because we're afraid of being misunderstood. We want to prove our worth. We feel disrespected. We mistake dominance for security. But here's the truth. Arguing rarely changes minds. Almost never changes hearts. But it always costs energy. Every time you argue to prove yourself, you trade a piece of your inner calm for an illusion of control. And control is always temporary. What's permanent is the chaos you invite into your nervous system by needing to win every exchange. This is why some of the most spiritually advanced people you'll ever meet don't argue. They don't raise their voices. They don't define their position constantly. Not because they lack passion, but because they've discovered that peace is more powerful than proof. You may be asking, but what if I let people walk over me? Let me be clear, this isn't about silence born of fear. It's about silence born of strength. Let me introduce you to a man named Derek. Eric worked in a competitive tech company. He was soft-spoken, not because he lacked opinions, but because he refused to waste words. When others gossiped, he stayed silent. When tensions ran high in meetings, he stayed calm. When someone stole credit for his idea, he simply continued doing excellent work. Colleagues thought he was weak, but after 2 years, something happened. The ones who played politics were burned out. Those who argued every point were exhausted or disliked. But Eric had gained quiet influence. Leaders trusted him. His words, though few, carried weight. His presence brought stability. And he told a friend once, "My job is not to fight the storm. My job is to be the eye of the storm." That's power. That's non-resistance. Let's explore the deeper spiritual mechanism at work. When you stop arguing, you return to your center. Your energy stops leaking into the chaos around you. Your aura becomes clear. Your mind becomes uncluttered. And most surprisingly, the situations that once provoked you begin to dissolve on their own. Because when you stop feeding a fire with your reactions, the fire burns out. This is the hidden law. What you do not energize cannot control you. This is why the world makes way for the peaceful. Because peace is not passive. It's magnetic. It draws order from disorder, wisdom from conflict, clarity from confusion. But let's be honest, that's not easy. When someone insults you, it takes immense strength to remain still. When someone misjudges you, it hurts to stay silent. When someone challenges your values, it's tempting to explode. But here's the key. Stillness is not suppression. It is refinement. You're not holding in anger. You're transmitting it. You're taking reactive fire and forging it into inner gold. Let me give you a metaphor. Think of a swordsmith. He takes raw, impure metal. He places it in the fire, and not to destroy it, but to purify it. And he shapes it, close it, polishes it, until it becomes something sharp, strong, and silent. Your anger, when not unleashed but refined, becomes presence. Your pain, when not projected but understood, becomes depth. Your silence, when not fearful but conscious, becomes influence. Let me tell you about a teacher named Mr. Chin. He was old, gentle, rarely spoke in meetings. People sometimes dismissed him as outdated. But when conflicts arose between departments, who did leadership call? Mr. Chin. Because he didn't take sides. He didn't argue. He asked questions. He listened. And because his ego wasn't in the way, solutions came easily around him. One day, a junior asked him, "Sir, why don't you ever fight back when people speak over you?" He smiled and replied, "Because my purpose is not to be louder. My purpose is to bring clarity, and clarity doesn't shout." Let's pause here. Because this isn't just about workplace dynamics. This is about how you live your life. How much time do you spend rehearsing imaginary arguments in your head? Often do you leave a conversation feeling drained, not because of what was said, but because of what you couldn't let go of? How many nights have you lost sleep replaying a comment, trying to prove to yourself that you were right? These are not harmless habits. They are energetic hemorrhages. And the moment you choose non-resistance, and not silence from weakness, but silence from power, you seal those leaks. You reclaim your strength. You protect your peace. Let's return to you. Right now, in your own life, where are the battles draining you? Where are the arguments repeating without end? Where are you still trying to win instead of trying to grow? This is your invitation to lay down your armor. Not because you've lost, but because you no longer need to prove anything. Remember, you don't have to react to every slight. You don't have to defend yourself every time you're misunderstood. You don't have to correct every lie spoken about you. Because your peace is not built on their approval. Your strength is not measured by how loudly you respond. Your power lives in your ability to stay rooted in your truth without needing to broadcast it. Here are 3 simple, powerful practices to begin living this way. 1. Pause before responding. When someone provokes you, Take a single breath before entering. This moment of pause is your power. It disconnects your reaction from their energy. And in that stillness, your wisdom rises. Replace reaction with reflection. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Not every battle needs a warrior. Sometimes, the most strategic move is stillness. 3. Speak only when it ends light. Before you speak, ask, will this bring clarity? Will it serve peace? If not, let silence speak for you. Silence, when rooted in awareness, is the loudest message you can send. Let me tell you a final story before we close. It's about a grandmother named Ruth. She was quiet, graceful, and deeply loved in our community. People said she had an aura of calm wherever she went. One day, a young woman asked her, "How do you stay so peaceful? You never seem shaken, even when others are rude." Ruth smiled. "Because I learned a long time ago, other people's storms don't belong in my sky." That one sentence changed that young woman's life. And it can change yours too. So now, I ask you, what if you stopped arguing, not forever, but just long enough to taste the stillness underneath? What if you let go of the need to be understood and chose to understand yourself more deeply? What if you traded reactivity for quiet strength, mice for presence, defense for wisdom? What would shift? What space would open? What life would begin? In the comments, tell us. What's one argument you now realize you no longer need to have? What's one practice you'll adopt this week to protect your peace? Have you experienced a moment when silence gave you more than shouting forgot? We want to hear from you. This community is built not just on insights, but on shared courage. And if this message resonated with you, help us spread peace further and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who's tired of fighting battles that don't feed their soul. You were not born to win arguments. You were born to lie free, clear, and radiant. Let go. Breathe deep. And watch the world make space for the person you've become. Thank you for watching this video.
Before you leave, here's something special. In Buddhism, we believe that every encounter carries a deeper meaning. Would you like to discover your true soul connection, the one written into your destiny? Take the Soulmate Test today and unveil the hidden truths of your journey. Click the link below and begin your path now.
http://soulmate. You wisdom more, come, white.